Hello there. So in this video I want to talk a little bit about scams, because there's been a concerning increase in the amount of scam email and general contact that I've been receiving, and also concerningly an increase in the sophisticated nature and how convincing these scams are. So I know somebody who has been scammed recently by the NHS Passport Scam. So basically you get an email that purports to be from the NHS, you click on it, it asks you for a load of personal details for the promise of giving you your NHS passport, COVID vaccine passport, so that you'll be able to go into places. And it's kind of a little bit convincing because it looks realistic, it looks like it's genuinely from the NHS. Also, people do want a vaccine passport. It makes some assertions about the number of vaccines that you've had. Even if they say you've had 0, 1 or 2 vaccines, that's going to be correct for a proportion of the population, isn't it? So it feels like there's some knowledge there about your particular situation. Now, there are some telltale signs that say it's not real. For example, the email address isn't an NHS email address. The only other thing is that really, if you knew about the NHS COVID vaccine passport, you don't have to pay for it, and they essentially want to charge something like $2.99 to have it. And for the pleasure of that, they ask for a lot of personal information, including your mother's maiden name, your bank account and sort code, just lots of personal information that the NHS wouldn't ask for. And in particular, I mean, most companies, unless you're setting up a direct debit, most companies are not going to ask for your account number and sort code as well as your card details. It's getting to the point now with the sophisticated nature of these scams that you really can't trust any communication you get via email or phone unless you have contacted them yourself and got those contact details from a reputable source, i.e. their website. And actually a follow-up from that COVID scam, the person actually received a phone call claiming to be the fraud squad from their own bank. Usually when you speak to these scamming people, they're not English, or they haven't got an English sounding accent. Well, I can tell you that this person spoke to them and it sounded like they were maybe in Essex, and they claim to be the fraud squad, and they get a little bit aggressive. They eventually hang up when you confront them, and I assume the end goal there is, oh yes, your bank account has had a fraudulent activity detected on it. You need to move all your money to another account, and then they steal your money. I don't know how these people live with themselves, genuinely. I can only assume they completely switch off their emotions, their thought and empathy for other people, but I find that absolutely extraordinary, and it's almost like these people must, in my opinion, be mentally different to the rest of us, because, you know, it's easy to imagine perhaps that you could live in denial and just con all these people, but in practice, laying there in bed at 2 a.m, thinking of all the innocent old ladies that you've taken their life savings from, you must feel pretty wretched at those times. And if you don't, then I think you are deficient in some way. The result of the COVID vaccine scam was that they had to have all their credit cards and bank cards changed. They contacted Equifax to get a special kind of flag on their account so that credit providers would be extra careful if new credit applications were made. And no payments were taken from the account, but they're kind of, I suppose that's just valuable information that will be sold on the dark web. That person just has to hope now that it doesn't go any further. Now, I've got a couple of my own personal stories of times that I've had scams pushed onto me. The most recent and most concerning was actually from a telephone call with a Western sounding person at the end of the phone claiming to be from my bank in a branch in my local city asking me about my mortgage. Now, obviously, I'm doing this house moving stuff, or trying to at the moment, so it felt a little bit relevant, but not 100% sure why they're contacting me to see how I am. I went along with the phone call, but in order for them to speak to me some more, they wanted to ask some security questions. So they basically wanted me to tell them my mother's maiden name. And so I gave them a fake name, and they said that wasn't the name they had on file. But it kind of just spooked me a little bit, because they phoned me and they're asking these security questions to me, personal bits of information. It could have been genuine, but I just didn't trust it, especially after the COVID vaccine thing. So another scam that is happening a lot and in several different forms. It's often an automated phone call that I receive, and the most recent one was from Amazon, claiming that my Amazon Prime trial had ended and that my membership was being renewed, and that if I wanted to cancel it, I'd have to speak to an advisor. I think I've had other similar calls saying that I'm due a refund for certain things, but I've certainly had the Amazon one a lot now. And I do intend to try and record one of these scams, because I get them almost daily, and so I will go along with it as far as I can without giving away personal information, and upload that on here so that you can see for yourself what we're dealing with. But if you're going to take one message from this video, it's that you need to be obsessively skeptical about anybody who contacts you. So with the Amazon scam, I did click through and ask to speak to an advisor, and it was a lady with an Indian sounding accent. Apologies if I'm not geographically locating her accent properly. She was very calm, she was very polite, she sounded very friendly, and she proceeded to tell me that my Amazon membership was renewed and that I want to cancel it. So because she asked me the question again, I thought I would switch things up a little bit, and I actually said no, I don't want to cancel it. I'm happy to keep paying to see what would happen. And so she was like, oh yes, that's absolutely fine. We just need to take your payment details so that we can do it. But we don't take your payment details over the phone for security reasons. We have another way of doing it. So I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. And to be honest, I don't quite know why they can't pick up. Maybe it's a Western difference. They can't pick up on my sort of ridiculous way that I'm speaking to them, going like, oh yeah, you're right, yeah. And they don't seem to care. They just carry on. Anyway, what happens, or what's happened in a few of these situations, is that they then get you to download an app from your mobile phone. So they ask you if you've got iOS or Android. They tell you to go to your app store, and then they obsessively read out the name of an application in phonetics. A for apple, B for banana, C for carrot, like that. And you're like, Christ, the name of the app is like Funds Checker or something, and they're reading it out phonetically. Oh, it's painful. Anyway, and then they're like, oh, what can you see on the screen? You're like, oh, I can see the app on the screen. Download it. Okay, I'm downloading it. Let me know when it's downloaded. Okay. I've never actually downloaded the app, a little bit scared to do that and go that far. I assume that they'll either take control of my mobile phone or get me to enter payment details into the app, steal them, and we'll go from there. And last time that happened to me, I got right to that point, and then, she was like, oh, what does it say on the screen? Oh, can you do this? Can you put me on speakerphone? And then eventually what I did was I just played Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. So I rickrolled the person at the end. I don't know if that had any effect. Wasted their time, and I enjoyed it. And while I'm speaking to them, I suppose it's one less person, innocent person, that they are scamming. So anyway, just be on your guard. Don't trust anything out there, because there's a lot of scamming going on at the moment. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my loyal Patreons who are scrolling down the screen now, especially George Foote, Magnanimous Meg, Jim McCaig, Jennifer Jones and Ross Carter, who are very generous patrons. See you next time for another video.